Now that we've learned how to use the zero product property, let's put it all together with factoring. So here are the steps for solving a quadratic equation using factoring. The first step is to set the equation equal to 0. That way you can use your zero product property. The second step is to actually factor the equation. Then you set each part equal to the equal to 0 and solve. So you pretty much just use the zero product property after you factor. Then you always want to check your answer. So for our first example, we have a squared minus 3a minus 40. And it's equal to 0 already. So our first step has already been done for us. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to factor it. So that means that we need factors of 1 times 40. Because remember, you multiply your first and last. So 1 times negative 40. So we need factors that multiply to negative 40 because we multiplied our first coefficient times our last coefficient. Now notice we haven't used our middle, which is negative 3. So those same numbers have to add up to negative 3. Okay, so when you think about it, you need a negative and a positive, and you know that your bigger number is going to be negative because it ends up adding up to a negative. So hopefully you realize that it's going to be negative 8 and positive 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our factoring. Our variable is a, and our first coefficient is 1a. And then we're just going to put our special numbers in there, negative 8 and positive 5. Okay, so if you look at each group, is there a GCF? Nope. And in this one, there's no GCF. So we have finished factoring. Please remember to write equal to 0 at the end of each one, because what you might end up doing is forgetting that you even have to solve. So now that we have it factored and it's set equal to 0, what we can do is we can go ahead and use our zero product property. So a minus 8 is equal to 0. And then we have a plus 5 is equal to 0. So to solve the first one, we'll add 8 to both sides, and we get a is equal to positive 8. For the second one, we'll subtract 5 from both sides, and we get a is equal to negative 5. So those are our two solutions. So once again, I can write it like this. Or I could just leave it in my two boxes. Just make sure that you indicate what your answers are. Let's try another one. For this one, we do have to do step 1 because it hasn't been done for us. So you notice that it's not equal to 0. So we have to add this 2 over to the other side. What I like to do when I'm not adding like terms together is I like to line them up somewhere else so that I don't mistake them for being like terms. So when we do that, we end up getting x squared plus 3x plus 2. Okay? You want to make sure that it's in standard form, meaning that your degrees are going from greatest to least. So you see that here you have the second degree, first degree, and you see there's no power there, so that's 0 degree. So we want it in standard form, and now it's equal to 0 since we've added that 2 over. So now we can move on to step 2, which is to factor. So we need factors of 1 times 2, because our first coefficient is 1, our last is 2. So we need factors of positive 2 that add up to our middle coefficient, which is 3. And there's our middle coefficient right there. So hopefully you figured out that it's going to be 1 times 2. because 1 times 2 is 2 and 1 plus 2 gives you 3. So our first coefficient was 1 and our variable is x, so we're going to put 1x in the front of each. And then we're going to put our special numbers. It doesn't matter which order. I could have put plus 2 plus 1 or plus 1 plus 2. It doesn't matter. And you notice that we don't have any GCFs in the first group or any GCFs in the second group. So that means that we have factored fully. So now that we've factored, once again, we're going to use our zero product property. Set each one equal to 0. So you get x plus 1. Oh, that's a little too light. X plus 1 is equal to 0. And then you get x plus 2 is equal to 0. Just using simple algebra. And subtract the 2. And that is our second solution. So our solutions are x is equal to -2 and -1. Thanks for watching.